Robbie, too,
Good to
taking
see
you out, forgot to take you out of the picture. That's producer Robbie West. How you doing, John?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you, Ted?
I'm all right.
Good to see you.
Let's deprogram some people. It's Wednesday, August 20th. Thanks for joining us. We're here on DeProgram. I'm Ted Rall. That's John Kiriakou. Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. John, you said it's a bit of a slow news day, and I think that's kind of true because we're kind of in between a lot of things that are sort of in the middle of happening. But it doesn't mean that we have nothing to talk about. So
no, that's right. Hey, listen, so long as you read the New York Post every day, there's plenty to talk about.
Always read the New York Post. So in no particular order, because that's not how we do things here. And by the way, please feel free to chime in with your questions inside the Rumble or the YouTube chat. If you're joining us live, if you're listening to us later on, thank you so much for joining us. And do consider joining us live if you ever have the chance. All right. So New York Times has a piece today about it's a deep dive about voter registration. Democrats are getting clobbered on voter registration. They've lost 2.5 million voters to the Republicans in just 30 out of 50 states between 20 and 2024. So we'll talk about that and what it means for the Democratic Party. Fox News hosts, not surprisingly, they tend to be in the tank for Donald Trump, although there was once a time, remember, when the order went out, like not to do that, but they changed their mind. Anyway, there's a lawsuit, a lot of discovery that turned private information into public records. Now we know that people like Jeanine Pirro, we have their internal communications with people like Sean Hannity, and they're squabbling, and it's super, super interesting. We'll get into sort of some inside Fox News dish, and let's see if they should even be pretending to be objective reporters. Oklahoma now wants to is subjecting teachers only from New York and California to a test to determine whether they're too woke to serve teachers in Oklahoma or not. Israel literally just within the last hour reinvaded Gaza. That was anticipated. We'll get into that. They're currently fighting in Khan Yunis and in Gaza City. And Israel has officially declared effectively the death of the two-state solution, at least in the West Bank. I mean, that kind of makes it the whole thing. That E1 project that we talked about the other day has now been formally approved, and we'll get into all that. There's a few other things going on. The redistricting battles are still happening. And, of course, we're looking to see if any progress is going to be made on the peace negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. John, what would you like to do first?
Well, you know what? Let's start with the Middle East, just because it's so near and dear to my heart. I had a really lovely coffee meeting this morning with a young intern from the Jordanian embassy. He watches the show. He reached out on LinkedIn. I can never say no to a cup of coffee. So we got together today, and it was a really delightful conversation. But one of the things that he reminded me of, that I actually had, I guess, pushed back into the sort of the recesses of my brain, is that many Palestinians, especially Palestinians in the diaspora, especially in the Middle Eastern diaspora, don't like each other, right? It's partly a generational thing. It's in some cases a religious thing, because it used to be that 10% of the Palestinians in Palestine were Christian, like 80-20 Orthodox and Catholic. Most of the Palestinian Christians have emigrated to the West, and most of them to the United States or Australia. And it's left a lot of very angry refugees in the region. 50% of the population of Jordan is Palestinian, but they're divided by generation. They're divided by whether they are the descendants of Palestinian refugees from 1948, from the Nakba, or if they're recent arrivals. There are some Palestinians who moved to the Persian Gulf and worked for 30 years and made tons of money and then have gone back. And now all of a sudden they're doing better than most Jordanians are doing. So he said in the West, especially in the United States, one of the things that he's noticed is that even those of us, or especially those of us who are pro-Palestinian, we have this idea that Palestinians are monolithic, and they're not. And they're not.
That's
and
super interesting.
Yeah. And that's why
of course it's true, but yeah.
The way we got onto that conversation was we were talking about the one-state solution versus the two-state solution. And I said, there already is one state. How's that working out for everybody? Not very well. You can't really have a two-state solution because you've got Mahmoud Abbas, who's, like I always say, 19 years into a 4-year term and suddenly finds himself to be a billionaire, despite the fact that his people are among the poorest in the world.
He's just a good investor.
Yeah, apparently.
Just like Marjorie Taylor Greene.
That's right. Good speculator. And then, you've got the three-state solution, which nobody wants to talk about because there's really no connection between West Bank Palestinians and Gaza Palestinians. So what's the solution? Even the Palestinians don't have a proposed solution. And now today we've got the Israelis re-invading Gaza City. Why? Just so they can kill the people who managed to escape last time and blow up the tunnels that the Israelis were responsible for digging in the first place.
Now, John, I have to say, the shadow of all of this reinvasion is, of course, the ceasefire deal, right? So there's a current ceasefire deal on the table. Hamas has already officially signed off. All the remaining hostages, the 20 live ones and the 30 corpses, would be released. And this would be a 60-day ceasefire. And the deadline for it is on Friday. I mean, this is Israel's answer, right? Basically, no ceasefire.
Yeah, no ceasefire. No way. Remember,
they don't care about the hostages. They don't care.
They don't care. They don't care. And they made it clear from the very beginning that they don't care. And like we always said, there's a benefit to Benjamin Netanyahu for this thing to go on forever. Because so long as the war continues and Netanyahu remains prime minister, he's not going to be prosecuted for corruption. Right? So why
Thank you so much.
Fight for peace?
Thank you so much, Hey Mike, for the very generous $100 donation.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Hey Mike. Thank you so much. Yeah. And tomorrow I'm going to be on with Eric. Who's Eric?
Let
me look at my calendar. I probably am. I don't know my calendar from one day to the next.
Well, you can always check the scroll here. People here do know it. They know more about us than we know. Maybe it's your old colleagues in Langley. Tapping your phone.
Yeah.
Oh, they're not supposed to do that. Only for
no, they're not supposed to. But anyway, getting back to Israel, I'm always pessimistic when it comes to Israel and Palestine. I'm even more pessimistic today, Ted, than I was yesterday. It's not good.
Yeah, although what's funny, I'm short-term very pessimistic like you. Long-term, I'm more pessimistic. I'm more optimistic. I think, like we've talked about before, the more of this shit that Israel pulls, the lower their approval rating goes, the lower their support in the U.S. goes, the safer it is for American politicians to cut them off, and the more isolated they're going to be diplomatically, including at the UN, which the General Assembly meets here in New York next month. I think they're really cutting off their noses to spite their faces
without any question,
and over and over.
Ted, there was a poll that was released today, absolutely fascinating. And you know how obsessed I am with polls, but this was a global poll, and it ranked every country by how their citizens answered if they were strongly pro-Israel, moderately pro-Israel, moderately anti-Israel, strongly anti-Israel. There were only 3 countries in the world that are pro-Israel by majority.
Out of 200 or so.
One of them's Israel.
Okay.
One of them's the United States.
Okay.
And the third, inexplicably to me, was Nigeria. Yeah.
What?
And everybody else in the world is majority anti-Israel. The world.
That's crazy.
This should be a wake-up call.
Did they track how that looked compared to previous years?
Yeah, and it's moved dramatically. dramatically. Interestingly, outside the Middle East proper, to use the British terminology, Turkey was the most anti-Israel country in the outside the Middle East.
Well, that's a dramatic change. I mean,
dramatic change.
Is that I mean, they used to almost be sort of allies. I mean,
very much so.
Right?
Yes, very
I remember
much
during
so.
the big earthquake,
That's
the Israelis
right.
came to help out.
Yes.
And,
doctors and rescue teams and trained dogs and all that stuff.
Is that an Erdogan thing, or what's the story there?
Yeah. Erdogan has moved farther and farther toward the religious types over the years. And then when he made this decision to publicly support Hamas, that was the end of it. And that's when the Greeks moved in to become pro-Israel. It was the Greeks that were always pro-Palestinian. And when the Turks switched, the Greeks switched. Interestingly, in Greece, combining strongly anti-Israel and moderately anti-Israel, in Greece it was 74% that are anti-Israel, despite the fact that the Greek government bows down before the Israeli government. Fascinating to me. But the lesson here, at least the lesson that I took from it, is that the Israelis are dragging us down with them. You know? So many Americans believe that if you're anti-Netanyahu, that means you're anti-Semitic, and that you have to be in lockstep with the farthest right-wing elements of the Israeli government to not be anti-Semitic, and that is utter nonsense.
Well, it's insane to give any country who's making their own decisions for their own domestic political reasons, and to give them a blank check and basically say, whatever you guys do in and around your neighborhood, we're on board with, no matter what. I mean, it's like, look, it's like if your friend is out, basically, Israel is like our really bad friend.
Yes.
They're staying up late. They're cheating on their wife. They're like, they're drinking and driving. They're trying to outrun the police, and they're calling all the time. You're their one quarter. You have to go and bail them out all the time.
That's right.
And you get blamed for what they do. You're enabling them. It's your car that they're doing it with. And they're literally shooting Palestinians with made in USA weapons. I mean, it literally, and it's like, so when 9/11s happen, the only thing that I found it shocking, but I didn't find it surprising. The only surprise is that things like that don't happen all the time. Totally agree.
So I hate to say it, but the bottom line for me today is there's no reason to be optimistic on Palestine today. No reason at all.
Let's talk about the settlements. So it continues, right? Like there's 700,000 illegal West Bank colonists, aka quote unquote settlers. I don't like the word settler because it kind of implies that nobody was living there before.
That's right.
Which is far from true. And anyway, and they're running rampant. So the Israeli government has just officially said, they've just greenlit this E1 settlement project, 3,400 new units. So, I don't know how many what's the average family size in one of those units, but you got to figure, let's say 3 at least, right?
At least.
So at least 10,000 more people are coming in there, further slicing and dicing the Palestinian communities. But the big news here is the reason that the Israelis the right-wingers are so excited about it is that this completely severs the West Bank proper from East Jerusalem, which was always intended to be the capital of a future Palestinian state. And this is basically saying we've completely annexed East Jerusalem, which has already happened, and you're not even we're never letting you back. That's it. You can't even come to visit.
Yeah, it makes me sick to my stomach. And just to make matters even worse, or not even, I won't even say it like that. I'll say just to add insult to injury. What the Israelis tend to do in the weeks and months before they seize Palestinian land is they'll go in and bulldoze the olive orchards, for example, or set fire to the crops, just so it makes it easier for you to just leave on your own. And if you don't finally leave, they'll bulldoze the house. and then build one of their prefab houses and have some family from New Jersey or New York or wherever move into this new house on land that's been in these families for hundreds of years.
Why do they bulldoze the house? A lot of times these are perfectly fine structures.
Yeah, in fact, in Jerusalem, in East Jerusalem, they generally keep the houses and just turn it over to a Jewish family. But the condition of so many of these houses in the West Bank is so poor. They're thrown together with, scraps and concrete block and whatever. They're not really. They shouldn't be habitable.
Yeah,
but people are so desperate that this is all they can do. They're poor. Yeah,
and their olive trees have been stolen or destroyed.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I have to admit, obviously, always my loyalty here is with the Palestinians, and they will maintain the struggle. So that
they will. Hey,
is good.
And we need to thank Firmware and Houdini both. Thank you so much for your generous contributions.
Oh my God! Thank you so much. Yeah, it's like the scroll is going on here. Thank you so much. That's crazy, right? As Houdini points out, the olive trees are 4,000 years old. They're some of the oldest things on the planet.
Yes, they are.
I was once at a panel discussion with other authors, and there was this woman was the author of a book about the oldest things on Earth. And some of the oldest things on Earth are trees.
Yeah.
There's some like shrub.
Methuselah trees.
There's some shrub in Africa that's like doesn't look like much, but it's like 6,000 or 7,000 years old. Mm-hmm. There's a giant sea sponge that's thousands of years old in the Atlantic Ocean.
Wow.
And there's some giant underground mushroom complex.
Oh yeah. That goes for really acres and acres. It's out in like Oregon or something.
Yeah, that's right.
There's an olive tree in Crete that's 3,200 years old. It's the oldest olive tree in Greece. When I was living in Athens, I lived in this normal, suburban house, this 5-year-old house, but I had a 300-year-old olive tree in my front yard. And that's my first year that I was there, it started making olives and the olives started to ripen. So I asked a guy at the embassy, I said, hey, I have this olive tree. It's making beautiful olives. I don't know what to do with it. He said, oh, no, we'll take care of it. You have a choice, he says. We call the olive company, the olive harvesting company, and you can do two things. You can either pay them to harvest the olives, or you give them the olives to harvest, and they give you 5 gallons of the olive oil that it creates.
Yeah, because there's a lot of processing with olives.
A lot.
Right? You can't eat them off the tree.
No, they're terrible.
Yeah.
So I ended up using olive oil from my own olives for years, 3, 4, 5 years. I had that olive oil. It was amazing.
That's cool.
So
awesome. And it's 300 years old.
And it's 300 years old and absolutely delicious.
Just think about that. Like that blows my mind when I think about what the world was like in 1725. Right?
Just in my little yard, I had a peach tree, a plum tree, an orange tree, a lemon tree. I had the olives, and I had a big tortoise.
Oh, really?
He would just eat the fruits that would fall off the tree.
Oh, wow. Was he? Oh, so he was like wild. He was.
Yeah,
indigenous.
It was. I looked it up. It's called an Attican tortoise.
Oh God, it sounds. I would feel like a king if I had those things. Every morning, I'd wake up and I'd feel a little bit happy just because.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. I liked it.
Okay, so I think we'll leave that there. What should we talk about?
And thank you to Matthew as well, who also has a question. Thoughts on Trump making cartels as terrorists? I don't think we've really talked about that in any depth. When Trump first said that he was going to classify or have the State Department classify the drug cartels as terrorist groups, I said that it was a bureaucratic move because it would free up funding for the intelligence community that otherwise is not focused on drugs to begin things like intercepting the communications of cartel leaders. And a lot of people predicted that we would start using offensive capabilities against the cartels like drones. That hasn't happened.
No.
Do you see any reason why there's a benefit to classifying the cartels as terrorist groups?
Well, I mean, under American law, right, when you classify anything as a terrorist group, it opens up, you can pretty much do anything you want. You don't need you don't need an authorization from Congress. I think it's because you can rely on the 2001 post 9/11 authorization to use military force that basically has never been expired, right, as far as I know. And anything related to terrorism in general, or specifically Al-Qaeda or anyone who may or may not have been responsible for 9/11 or anything like 9/11, blah, 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 blah. It's so open-ended. So I think that's why there's this. It's very tempting for the government to just classify anything that they don't like, including bad weather, as a terrorist.
That's right. Terrorist.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Should we talk about these? We should definitely touch upon the redistricting.
Uh-oh.
There I am.
There we go. Okay. I thought it was me again.
No, that was me. I have a Mac, and the iOS has sort of this quirk where if you move the magic mouse a little too fast, it just sort of swipes you off.
Yes.
I hate that.
Mine does that too. I
tried to see if, and there's apparently a setting that you can supposedly get rid of that, but it doesn't work. So we miss you, Steve Jobs. Come back. Get rid of the Apple Watch while you're at it. Okay, so let's talk about the redistricting thing. You wanted to bring that up.
I did want to bring it up. The Texas House is prepared now to vote in favor of redrawing congressional district boundaries, which would likely result in the loss of 5 Democratic House seats in Texas. Gavin Newsom has already had prepared a comparable measure, but the system is different in California. This has to go to a referendum. So he would have to call a special election.
Well, they're used to that in California. They have them all the time.
The RNC, the Republican National Committee, has committed $15 million in advertising to defeat it, and they've been successful in the past.
Won't work this time.
And so now New York and Illinois.
California's GOP is dead. It's got nothing going on.
Gone. New York and Illinois are jumping in, saying that they're now considering redrawing their district boundaries, but Missouri and Florida have also jumped in, saying that they're going to redraw to make it easier for Republicans. We have never seen anything like this in the history of the Republic. This is just such bad form, and it's such, sour grapes, and it's the worst of gerrymandering. Now, interestingly enough, this afternoon, a federal judge out of thin air.
Thank you, Marble, by the way.
Thank you, Marble. A federal judge ruled that Mississippi's district boundaries are illegally gerrymandered. So now Mississippi is going to be forced to redraw its boundaries, even though it didn't want to, and it's going to have to add a majority black district.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, gerrymandering's been with us. I mean,
since the 18th century.
Right. It's one of it may be the first, well, certainly the most well-known early American political cartoon, right? It's The Gerrymander, in which some ugly looking voter district, I guess in Massachusetts, I think it was, is just basically drawn up into the form of a horrible, like dragon-like monster.
Yes.
I think it's Ben Franklin, if I'm not mistaken, who created that cartoon.
It ran in Ben Franklin's paper. Do you know the background to it? It was Elbridge Gerry, Gerry, but it was pronounced Gary. He was the 4th vice president of the United States.
Oh, wow.
And he had been the governor of Massachusetts. So he was, I think, Madison's vice president. So he was intensely partisan. And in order to get his friends elected to Congress, he just took out a map of Massachusetts and he drew the district boundaries. And when Benjamin Franklin saw them, he said that they looked like salamanders. And he called them Gary's salamanders, and that became Garymander, which then over the years became gerrymander. He's also, little bit of trivia from John's someday to be published cemeteries book. He's the only vice president of the United States to be buried inside Washington, D.C.
Oh, really? Where is he buried? He's
at Congressional Cemetery up on Capitol Hill. There it is. There's the gerrymander.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of a cool cartoon. And,
it really is. It really is.
And I doubt it's really the original first one, but yeah. Anyway,
I like it.
Yeah, me too. So, all right. So, so I mean, look, let's get to the politics of this. I mean, so obviously the gerrymandering is a pace, but it seems this really destroys respect for the system, right? I mean, we're just living in an incredibly toxic time. Yes. It seems like these two parties are far more interested in playing these kind of sick, sordid, sleazy games behind the scenes than representing the interests of the American people. I mean, there's nobody sitting around thinking, okay, what's afflicting most people? There's no Democrats or Republicans thinking, there's people who can't afford food, everything's expensive, or people can't send their kids to college even though they're really smart, or on and on and on. They're doing this shit instead. Yeah,
you're exactly right.
And I think it just it furthers contempt for the system.
It does. And it brings us back to the comment you made at the very start of the show about things going so badly for the Democrats. The Democrats are bleeding members and money, and nobody trusts them. And it's not that the Republicans are that much more popular. It's that the Democrats are just so backward.
Yeah, so let's be clear here, because it's a really complicated picture, right? So first of all, Democratic voter, I'll try to pull up a chart of this, but basically Democratic voter registration vis-a-vis Republicans is collapsing. But overall affiliation is also declining. So more and more Americans are the fastest growing group is really unaffiliated voters. In 20 out of 50 states, you don't register as a Democrat or Republican or anything else.
Right.
By the way, you can register as a Green or a Libertarian or anything you want, a Socialist. But 30 out of 50 states you can. So in those states, people are just fleeing. They're fleeing the Democrats much faster than they're fleeing the Republicans. John, I have a theory about what's going on here, which is I think that as the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, but the Democrats more, they're no longer a political movement that promotes an ideology. They're a team. Right. And you identify, most of my friends basically are parts of Team Blue. They identify with the Democratic Party because they've always been they're Democrats because they're Democrats. The Democratic Party can change radically on policies like, hey, let's start wars all over the place when, 30, 40, 50 years ago, that's not really who they were. And the Republicans were the hawk party, but they're still Democrats. Once a Democrat, always a Democrat. Republicans also, it's a team. When you're on Team Red, there's even Republican fashions, right? There's even women wear more makeup if they're Republican. There's a way to look. There's a there's a kind of car you're more likely to buy. So this reminds me of Byzantium, where there were the blue and the red chariot teams. And at first it started out as just entertainment, but over the centuries it evolved into political parties. There were riots, and it got to the point where if you were from a red chariot family, or you would not let your daughter marry a guy from a blue chariot family. And we're seeing that too. So if it's a team and not an ideology, well, you're going to go with the cooler team, the team that seems to win more, that seems to have more pizzazz. And since 2016, the team that's had more pizzazz has been the GOP. That's my theory.
I think you've hit it right on the head. If I were to ask myself, who's the leader of the Democratic Party, I could come up with 20 different names or 0 names.
Right. By the way, Gavin Newsom, my favorite governor, seems to be like really having a moment these days. He wants to be the big kahuna, and he's doing it basically by mimicking Donald Trump. Like he goes on Donald,
right?
He does all cap tweets, and like basically,
and then he says "sad!" exclamation point.
Tends to be tries to be Donald Trump. As a student of politics, I think it's always a mistake to be, adopting or even satirizing someone else's framing. Yeah. I think it's always better to have your own framing and try to make that framing better. Am I wrong?
No, I think you are exactly right. Yes, I think you're right. But it's like, Ted, they don't have an appreciation for it. It's like they don't see what the rest of the country sees. When only 24 or 25% of Americans consider themselves to be Democrats, that's not a brag. That's a problem. It's a problem that you should be dealing with.
John, you must remember in 2004, I think it was, 2 guys wrote a best-selling book called The Emerging Democratic Majority.
I remember.
21 years ago. The theory was that the Republican Party was obsolete, would never remember when Obama was president, more recent, right? The Democrats got rid of the judicial filibuster, reasoning that the Republicans would never control the Senate ever again. Never.
And they said that once Texas turned blue, and it was turning blue, it was imminent,
right?
That no Republican presidential candidate would ever win again.
It was impossible.
They would have to come up with a new party, this new political realignment. And of course, that was all ridiculous.
And obviously, it couldn't be more different now. I mean, look, let's get into some statistics here, right? So 4.5 million registered voters, right? This isn't even swing voters who are like, I'm a registered Democrat in New York, right? But I could vote for a Republican if I want. That's not even that. This is me like calling the Board of Elections and saying, fuck the Democratic Party. I'm moving over to the Republicans, which requires work, right?
Yeah. You have to work at it.
So that's in just 2020 to 2024. Now, that's a Biden effect, I think, in large part. And looking back at that, it's like, God, the way they clung to Biden, I mean, what a catastrophe. And the other thing is they had this assumption, like Democratic voter registration moves, which are basically usually run by third-party organizations, not third parties, but like not the Democratic Party, like labor unions and NGOs and so on. They'll like go out and register people, and they'll say, "Oh, let's just register a bunch of black guys because blacks always vote Democratic," and they did, right? Until they didn't. And Latinos, they always assumed that that was wrong from the outset.
Yeah,
and so
that was wrong.
They don't know what to do. And then the Democrats in today's New York Times find themselves in the awkward position of having to confide that they're really no longer interested in just registering minorities. They really want to just register Democrats. Yeah. And they're trying to figure out how to do that. How can they find their would-be Democratic voters? Oh, if only there was a way to appeal to get the Democratic Party to be more popular. I don't know. Get better candidates with good issues and good publicity.
Mm-hmm. You would think. I had a conversation today with 2 Swedish professors. They have a podcast, and we were talking exactly about this issue. And I said, when it's the Democrats who used to be in the streets to protest the war in Vietnam, the Democrats who used to be in the streets to protest the invasion of Iraq, the Democrats that used to be opposed to ever increasing Pentagon budgets, who are now being endorsed by Dick Cheney, right? It was Dick Cheney endorsed Kamala Harris for president. Then you have a serious problem. And they trumpeted that like it was the best thing that had ever happened.
Yeah,
and then Dick Cheney's on our side now.
She went on tour with Horrible Liz.
That's right. Like it was a positive thing.
Like it was a get.
Yeah, it was. It was a get. It's nuts.
It's totally crazy. Yeah, I don't know who these people are. And then, of course, obviously, meanwhile, they had good, reliable left-wing voters. All the Bernie people all would have voted Democratic, every last one of them. But they told all, 7 or 9 or 12 million of them, however many there are, because it's hard to guesstimate. There's so many, it's hard to count them.
Right.
That basically, we don't need you. We're gonna find our votes from the center. You still see that song on the editorial pages of all the major newspapers now. We need a good, sensible centrist. That's what we need.
Right, because there's no center. Great. Yeah, there's no center. I said that in this talk with the Swedes today too, that my very best friend from childhood, he's a Republican, a MAGA Republican, and he's always yelling about the radical left. And I said to him not too long ago, I said, Gary, what exactly is radical about the left? You keep using that word. Every time you talk about Democrats, you call them the radical left. What is it that's so radical? And he thought about it for a second and he said, well, the Green New Deal. I said, okay, so what's so radical about the Green New Deal? And he didn't know because he doesn't know what the Green New Deal is. It's just that Fox News keeps calling it radical, radical, radical. So it must be radical. And now we've got this giant split down the middle. So I said to the Swedes, I said, look, we've got a right of center party and we have a farther right of center party. And now Elon Musk et al. Want to put another right of center party in the middle of the two right of center parties that we already have. That's where our politics are today. Robbie's got a question too. What about ranked choice voting? We have ranked choice voting here in Arlington County, Virginia, which works beautifully. Alaska has it, and it allowed a Democrat to be elected to one term in the House of Representatives. But
it also gave us Eric Adams here in New York, though.
Well, that's true, actually.
And every New Yorker, John, has to absorb this 60-page voter guide, which has
mind
all the crazy chart. I always like to keep this as me. So this is all. It's like the SATs.
Yeah, you got to study it.
When I went to vote, I screwed up. Now, granted, I only went to an Ivy League school, so I'm not that smart. But I screwed up, and I went over and I said, I'm really sorry I screwed up. And the lady had a giant bin of spoiled ballots. And I live in a neighborhood next to, a major university.
Yeah.
One that's been in the news for being anti-Semitic.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Oh, good grief.
It's nuts. Yeah, no, ranked choice. I don't think I think ranked choice voting works when it works, and it doesn't work when it doesn't work. I think in certain particular circumstances, like it would really, the Bernie bros loved it because they were like, there were so many people who were like, well, I really want to vote for Hillary more, but I still like Bernie and I would vote for him second. It's kind of like a John Hughes movie where it's like Molly Ringwald likes John, but she would also date Ted if John were like not around and maybe if Ted had a better car. And so that's what ranked choice voting is like. And but I don't think that plays out really in a lot of cases. I think people in most cases are like, you're lucky if they like even one candidate.
The Greismeister is asking, when was the last Democratic presidential primary, open presidential primary? I mean, technically, I guess it was 2020, but not really, because the fix was in for Biden. It would have been 2008, but even that was supposed to be the Hillary coronation, and it came down to just Hillary and Obama. So when was the last time that it was truly open? It has to be like 92, right?
Well, 92, the fix was still in to some extent, right? I mean, and I was there in the convention hall when that happened. I'm trying to think like when it was really thrown open. I don't know, John. I'd have to go back to 1980. I'd have to say
for the Democrats.
Yeah,
when Ted
that's
Kennedy
when Ted
challenged Jimmy Carter.
Even though also I was in the hall for that. And let me tell I was a young man. I was 17. And let me just say the party, they went full spectrum DNC in 1980. They changed the rules so that Carter would get the nomination. I'm convinced that Ted Kennedy would have had a better shot against Reagan in terms of a more enthusiastic liberal base. We lost out when we didn't get Ted Kennedy to possibly be the president of the United States. With all of his flaws, don't let him drive your daughter home. But
don't let him drive your daughter home. Yeah, ask Mary Jo Kopechne about that. Well, you can't. But yeah, I agree.
Should we talk about
Ted?
Go ahead.
Ted, sorry, one more question. We're 3.5 years out from, or 3 years plus a couple of months out from the next election. But we're only really a year and a half out from the start of the primary.
Yes.
So is a year and a half enough time for the Democrats to get their act together?
No fucking way.
No.
I mean, not to mention, look, you remember the last person who really nationalized a midterm election was Newt Gingrich in 1994 with the
contract with America.
Brilliant. Brilliant
Absolutely
politics,
brilliant.
Not really brilliant policy. And, I think you need a figure like that who can unify the Democratic Party. John, do you see Hakeem Jeffries doing that?
Not a chance. I'll tell you what, every time I see Hakeem Jeffries,
even wipe his ass in the morning.
No. Every time I see him on TV, I like him less. To the point now, I don't even want to hear his voice. What a tool. He's a tool of the Hillary Clinton element of the DNC.
Yeah.
There's nothing progressive about this guy at all. Nothing.
No, and he's impotent. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, for all of her numerous flaws, well, except she's a really canny investor also. Aside from but she, at least, she was a strong woman. Mama bear.
Yeah.
She ran a tight ship.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
So, I don't think look, I think the Democrats are going to, here's the thing. The wild card is these redistricting battles, but there's a lot more pickups possible for the Republicans than there are for the Democrats.
Yes.
I have to say, I don't see a road to victory next year for the Democrats.
I don't
see where it comes from. I mean, even if there's a tremendous scandal in the GOP, even if Trump imploded somehow, and I don't think that's going to happen, then I still don't see how the Democrats can take advantage. I mean, I think their best shot is in 2028 to nominate someone spectacular as president and hope that he or she has coattails. And I don't think they'll have coattails because Democrats don't have a farm system. Obama got rid of the farm system, such as it was. And I think the Democratic Party is in real trouble. I mean, we don't want to write them off completely like the GOP was written off completely, obviously. GOP was written off completely in 1964.
Boy, was it.
But
1974?
In a two-party system, one party can always come back. But it's right. But I don't see it happening anytime soon.
No. Totally agree.
So speaking of elections, I love this story about Jeanine Pirro and Fox News. So basically, Smartmatic sued Fox News 4 years ago for $2.7 billion for defaming their voting machines, for saying that they were used by the Democrats to throw the election to Trump. Jeanine Pirro, who's now the Attorney General of the District of Columbia.
No, she's the U.S. Attorney.
U.S. Attorney for District Columbia. And not defending the people of the district from the military invasion.
No, she's defending the cops from sandwiches.
Right. So, but it's not just her. There were all these internal deliberations, and basically she's quoted in saying things about how So for example, here's a quote. Here's one of my favorite quotes. Jeanine goes, "I work so hard for the president and the body and the party." She said she only cared about one thing, which was getting a pardon for her ex-husband. I don't even know what he did. Do you know?
No idea. But I asked her to help me, and I talked to her assistant, and she says 20,000. And I said, "Come on, man. I don't have 20,000. I'm just asking for a tweet. Just a tweet. Pardon John Kiriakou. 20,000." I said, "Forget it."
Wow.
The only interaction I've had with her, I was on the show once, and 20,000. I said, "Forget it." And she never invited me back.
Do you think it would have worked?
No.
So there's that too.
Yeah.
Such high prices, such small servings.
Awful people.
So I guess so. Also, among the other stuff that came out is a lot of squabbling in Fox. It's all from the discovery process, right? When you sue someone, you can get all their internal communications and read all that stuff. So anyway, some of this is really juicy, right? So here's Jesse Waters, who's on, you're probably familiar if you watch The Five, as I do every day, or I did every day until we got this show. He was talking to Greg Gutfeld. Think about how incredible our ratings would be in 2020 if Fox went all in on Stop the Steal, which was, of course, Trump's attempt to overturn the election, or to just sort of deny that there was any way that Biden could legitimately win. And basically, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff about how much Sean Hannity is a mad egotist, which really comes as no surprise to anyone.
No, that was a shock.
Apparently, This is my favorite moment. He walked into the Oval Office, where the President of the United States, the leader of the free world, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, is hanging out, throws his shit, his files or paperwork, whatever, on the Resolute desk, and just basically announces, "I got to take a piss," and goes and uses the president's private bathroom without asking permission, like it's his joint. And basically, he's just swinging his dick around, literally.
Oh my God. I don't even know what to say to that.
I mean, honestly, that TV show Succession, it turns out that's a documentary.
And, in all seriousness, that's why they took Veep off the air, because all that crazy shit that happened in Veep actually started happening in real life in the Trump administration. And they canceled the show.
Totally insane. So, I don't know. It's just worth knowing. I mean, John, do you think by the way, I should say that Fox was really pissed that this all came out, and that they're getting their asses kicked in all of these defamation cases. They claim that they're using their God-given First Amendment right to express their free speech, and that they're being censored by the man by these defamation claims. The only thing that pisses me off about these defamation claims is that apparently you have to be a giant multinational corporation in order to be able to take on a cable news station like Fox News, which, slimes people every single day, but they can't do anything about it.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to add something too. Yesterday, I got a letter, not a welcome letter, saying that I'm going to be called as a witness in a defamation case against Rudy Giuliani.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Because that son of a bitch tried to squeeze $2 million out of me for a pardon back when, 5.5 years ago. And the story just keeps bubbling along and bubbling along.
Who's the plaintiff, if I may ask?
It's Noelle Dunphy. She used to be his assistant, and she was his director of business development at Giuliani Partners. Apparently, the day that the New York Times story came out, where I was quoted as saying that he tried to squeeze me for $2 million, he said to her, "That son of a bitch Kiriakou ratted me out to the New York Times." That's what she's alleging in the lawsuit. He then called the New York Times and said that he and I had never met. He didn't know who I was. The meeting never took place, and that I had made the whole thing up. So I told the reporter from the Times, I said, "That idiot forgot that we took a picture together."
OMG.
So I sent the picture
death by
to the
selfie.
Times. I sent the picture to the Times, and the Times said, Giuliani denied. The Times has seen documentary proof that the meeting took place.
John, what is her claim exactly? Why is she suing Giuliani?
Her claim is that he never paid her over the course of a year and a half. It was just promises. And then he sexually assaulted her twice by forcing her to perform sexual acts on him in exchange for him not ruining her reputation in the Republican Party.
But this is a defamation claim. Where's the defamation piece?
He ended up ruining her reputation in the Republican Party.
Oof.
Yeah. So she's suing him for millions of dollars.
Isn't he broke, though?
He says he is. Her attorneys are arguing that he has more than $100 million hidden in overseas accounts.
Good luck getting them.
Yeah.
If that's true.
It's because I don't have enough problems in my life. I'm going to get involved in Rudy Giuliani's bullshit.
Well, you'll just have to give a defamation. I mean, what am I saying? A deposition.
Deposition. I'll do a deposition and be done with it.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's no fun.
And all you do is you just tell the truth.
That's it.
Just tell the truth. That's it.
Yeah. I mean,
and then you get up and leave.
Yeah. And you know, yeah. I mean, I've done this. It's as you know, you've done this. Yeah. It's nothing to fear here.
Yeah. Awful.
Oh, okay. So here, Robbie, thank you so much for this.
Thanks, Robbie.
Albert Pirro was arrested and convicted in 2000 on 34 counts of conspiracy and tax evasion. He'd improperly deducted over $1 million in personal expenses for his lavish lifestyle as a business write-off for his real estate business. He served 17 months in prison. He got disbarred, although his law license got reinstated in 2007. In January of 21, as one of his last acts, Trump did pardon Albert Pirro. The arrest and conviction were significant, and I don't know whatever. I don't know what the rest of that is. Okay, but anyway, that's good to know. I'm
34 counts, 34 felony counts of conspiracy and tax.
Well, you know those counts can add up.
Yeah, they do.
You know, I always assume that everyone's overcharged.
Man.
So, okay, so we can. I really want to. Well, I want to talk about everything here. Let's talk about the main topic that we had here. So, AI has been used. All these AI chat models, like ChatGPT, these large language models, and Grok, which is X, Elon Musk's company, and so there's Google AI. They've all been scraping intellectual property from all over the internet in order to quote unquote train themselves. So if you go do a search on Google about anything, like for example, tell me about the status of Israel's invasion of Gaza, you'll get search results like in the old days to links, but on top you'll see Google AI, and it will summarize the answer to your question, whatever it is, and right. It may or may not have one or two tiny little links that you blink and you miss it, a little icon. Most people never do. And so what's going on is that it's called AI overview, right? News websites are saying that they're seeing their web traffic has declined by as much as 50% ever since Google AI Overview was introduced. Now, basically, it's not news that basically print newspapers are where 90% plus of all news reporting comes from, right? If it's on the radio, if it's on TV, it's on the internet, it came out of a print newspaper. And those papers have been in trouble since 1960.
Yes.
1960 is when newspaper circulation peaked out. Then TV started eroding at it. Then in the 90s, the internet came into play. Information wants to be free. They gave away a lot of their shit. Craigslist ate up all the classified ads. The internet ate up all of the display ads. And it's just been death by a million very large gashes, really. And so this now you're looking at a situation where like the LA Times may very well be out of business by the end of next year. It's the fourth largest
kind of
city in the
looks like
country.
that. Yeah.
So, we're looking at, we already have major news deserts in smaller towns. Canton, Ohio lost its newspaper a couple of years ago. And it's going to happen more and more. So there's whole sections of the country that have no local reporting. It's a golden age for political corruption. And so basically there's the publishers are fighting back a little bit. They're suing these big tech companies, but they're fucked, right? I mean, it's too late. It's too little too late, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems that way. Even my own little local newspaper, the Newcastle News, which I try to scan every day, became so expensive. I spend like $50 a year on the Post, $60 a year on the Times, whatever it is, just to have access. But the little Newcastle News that does not have a Wednesday edition or a Sunday edition is $250 a year. I can't afford $250 a year for a 16-page local newspaper. And as a result, they can't afford to hire journalists. The editor is like 28 years old. They cover the local, county fair and the farm show and who grew the biggest pumpkin and what the local churches are up to. But you're right. It's a news desert. There's no other way to describe it. I suppose, you can, if you want regional news, you can subscribe to one of the Pittsburgh papers, but even the Youngstown Vindicator, and Youngstown was a big city. It had 120,000 people, and it's done. Its paper's done. The Youngstown Vindicator.
I mean, I have to say, I really don't understand why. I mean, I would like to, the remedy here is civil court, right? But it seems to me like this is something Congress, if it had any sense of responsibility whatsoever, would take a look at in trying to protect news gathering. I mean, it benefits I know they don't like journalists because journalists can expose their skullduggery. But I mean, but it's kind of still to their advantage because they need the media to publicize their campaigns and their messages. It's how they get free advertising in between elections. You would think that they would just have an interest in propping up these news organizations and passing a law that's basic. I mean, what's needed here is a revenue sharing model, right? Like if you scrape my content from my paper that I own, you have to pay me. Yes.
There's got to be. I remember back in 2000 when the internet was just starting to get a real foothold. It had been around 6, 7, 8 years, whatever it was. And I remember my start screen being WashingtonPost.com. And I remember thinking, again, 25 years ago, how are they going to make money if I can read the entire newspaper for free online? Why would I buy it? That doesn't make any sense. And the hard copy paper, of course, on Sundays, there'd be 100 pages of ads. You're not getting that online.
Yeah, I don't know that like the newspaper barons ever gave any thought really to the way people actually consume their product. When this all started in the mid to late 1990s, my thought was what really makes sense. I mean, I still was reading a print paper and reading online. Now, to this day, I'm a digital subscriber to the New York Times and the Washington Post. Mm-hmm. If I subscribe to the print edition, or if I pick up the print edition, most of what's in there I read yesterday online already.
Yep.
Now that product costs more than the product that I'm paying for. This should be exactly the other way around. I think the internet should be for breaking news that it should tell you what just happened. Israel just invaded Khan Yunis and Gaza City. Tomorrow in the print edition, there should be big deep dive analysis pieces that explain what happened yesterday and what's likely to happen in like the days ahead, sort of like analogous to the way that the news weeklies, that role that Time, Newsweek, U.S. News and World Report used to play.
That's right. That's exactly right.
But nobody listens to Ted Rall.
No, or John Kiriakou.
But, at least we're cute. All right. So, J-Rock wants to know, why is Jake Tapper so miserable?
I don't know. If I was making what Jake Tapper makes, I'd be pretty darn happy all the time.
Yeah, I know. That's how I feel about it too. Heaven knows I'm miserable now, as the Smiths once sang. I ran into a friend of mine, a fellow cartoonist with whom I'm often confused, at a bar the other day, and he was saying like, I'm depressed. I'm like, you love it. You love to make yourself miserable. He goes, fuck you. And then he started laughing because he's like, you're right. Jake strikes me as he might be that person, but I'm not going to psychoanalyze a guy who, who's not here. Anyway, this is great. Peter IV says, we're listening to Ted Rall and John Kiriakou. That's
Yay.
right. So you're happy. You're happy. Anyway, yeah, here we go. Ted, that was the Cobalt Chimera says, Ted, that was the whole fight for ages. Advertising, referral links, summaries, substitute for original product in copyright. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's right.
This has come up, and I guess we probably should. Where is this question? Everything is going by so fast here. Someone asked about do we want to talk about the Israeli pedophile thing again or not? We kind of already talked about it.
The only thing that's new is the Justice Department said that they played no role in this at all. Nothing at all. I find that very hard to believe because we're talking about electronic images. And we're talking about electronic communications to try to meet up with an underage girl. That would make it federal. So what? The Justice Department just told the local authorities in Las Vegas to handle it, and they let the guy go, and he just ran back to Israel? I don't know. Somebody's lying.
Yeah, agreed. Russia and Ukraine. Basically, Trump wants, it's not a formal deadline, but Trump would like Putin to meet with Zelensky by Friday. And I assume Trump will be there too, although he's not formally committing to that yet. What do you think? I mean, right now, I think the silence is the negotiations to try to make that happen. Yeah?
I would hope that that's the case. The international media seem to believe that that the Russians aren't interested in meeting with Zelensky, at least not on Friday. But
why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they be?
Because they're winning.
Mm-hmm. But they're not winning at fast speed, right?
No. But there has to be something in it for them more than what they're apparently being offered.
Right.
I mean, I hope they do. I'd love to see this thing come to an end ASAP. Like I've said 1,000 times, if we're going to be peace activists or supporters of peace, then by God, let's be supporters of peace rather than to watch all this posturing. But I don't know. I'm just not seeing a rush to the negotiating table.
Last but not least, I believe this will be last. Oklahoma has adopted a new teacher screening test that requires applicants from blue states like New York and California to get a perfect score on a 50-question exam in order to weed out quote-unquote woke people.
What's funny too is that states like Oklahoma and Kansas are having serious problems attracting teachers. Right. And in fact, in places like Kansas City, Kansas, those teachers are resigning and moving to Missouri, right, where they don't have to put up with silliness like this. Same thing in Oklahoma. They're just moving to Texas, moving to other states where they're treated like human beings. They don't have to go through this political indoctrination.
So here's some questions from that test. Number 1, what are the first 3 words of the Constitution? A, in God we trust. B, life, liberty, and happiness. C, the United States. D, we the people. I mean, I know the answer to that.
Yeah, me too.
All right,
if you're a teacher and you don't know the answer, then shame
why
on
is
you.
freedom of religion important to America's identity? A, it makes Christianity the national religion. B, it bans all form of public worship. C, it limits religious teaching in public life. D, it protects religious choice from government control. Number 3. Oh, here, I'll just do one more. Number 5. Why do some states have more representatives than others? A, they cover a larger geographic area. B, they have held statehood for a longer period. C, the number is determined by military presence. D, representation is determined by population size. I mean, you'd have to be really a retard to not be able to.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Although, you know what? When I was serving in Bahrain, we had a secretary in the political section who thought that the State Department was a division of the Pentagon.
Oh, my.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There are a lot of dum-dums out there.
Yeah, there are. This is funny. Houdini says, I lived in Oklahoma. They need all the teachers they can get.
Yes,
hilarious.
They do.
And Nick Otto says the top superintendent of all Oklahoma public schools currently embroiled in a porn scandal on his TV in the office. The porn was allegedly seen by students. Lovely people all around. OMG. Sweet. And then we'll leave it there. DNI Tulsi Gabbard announced overhaul of her department, cutting over 40% of staff.
I mentioned today in a podcast that when the ODNI, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, was first created, it had 16 employees. Now it has 20,000 employees. So yeah, they need to cut staff.
So the idea for DNI was post 9/11, right? To have more coordination between all the agencies,
especially as it related to the budget. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, bureaucracy grows and grows and grows. All right. Good. Thanks everyone for joining us. Appreciate it. You're here Monday through Friday, 5 p.m., which means we will be back tomorrow, Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. No idea what we'll have to talk about, but we will talk about something.
Ted, do we have any ads before we leave?
Oh, good question. Let's take a look at the Rumble feed here. Looks like, no, we don't.
Okay.
Oh, actually, maybe we do. Okay, honestly, I have to admit I'm a little greedy. It tells you how much we get. and the money is so little, I'm going to let you go.
Like $2.50. Yeah.
Not even. Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, what's the word I'm looking for? Fuck that. Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, I'm deprogrammed.
I am completely deprogrammed. I'll figure out how to take that DNI comment offline somehow. Anyway, thanks everybody, and talk to you later. See you tomorrow. Please like, follow, and share the show. Just a reminder, if you're not watching us on Rumble, please do. If you become Rumble Premium, you can watch us for $5, or you can watch everything on Rumble for $10 a month, and we get paid a lot more. Believe me, John and I are looking at these numbers every single day to see if we're going to be able to make our rent. So
yes.
And so far we can't. So the things are moving in the right direction. Thank you so much for that. Thanks for all the generous financial contributions as well. And so anyway, take care and see you tomorrow night.
Thanks, everybody.